two. Joining me now is Becky Deans, the Office Alchemist. She is a talent management and employee well-being consultant for the cannabis industry. Welcome to the show, Becky.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So I love the name of your company. Tell me, what made you choose the word alchemist?
Well, I like to say it's because I look for the gold in every employee, and then I unearth it and I bring their best self out so that they are a high performance employee.
That's amazing. I love that. Such a positive angle. Tell me a little bit more about your work and how it impacts women in the workplace in particular.
Okay. So pretty much a company hires me to help them custom design their employee training and development program to embody their company culture and their core values. And the way it helps women in the workplace is we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our own families. Mm. And if we work in an environment that is stressful, unorganized, doesn't have very good accountability, people are going to take that stress home to their families at the end of the day. And so,
yeah, that's so true. By helping,
it is.
Yeah, for sure. And it is true when people are working full time, especially, professional people, everyone really. You are spending so much time at work. You said something earlier too about making sure that their practices are in line with the core values. That is also so important, and something I've seen that misalignment in jobs I've had in the past. And it's like the company doesn't even really realize it. Do you find that?
Yeah, their intention is good, but if you don't put them into practice and teach them to your employees, and the management has to uphold those core values. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult because I know that they want to, they just don't always know how to.
Right.
And that's where the training and development program comes in, because it's like I help them create these behaviors, this system throughout their company that embodies that, so they don't have to try as hard and mm-hmm. fail. It's already embedded in their workforce, right. In their workflow.
Nice. So I think one of the core values for women to look for maybe that they value and encourage women into leadership roles and that kind of thing. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, the thing about having a training program is you can bring in a new hire and maybe they have the skills you're looking for, maybe they don't. And you can develop them into a high performance person. Mm-hmm. So I often tell people, you're always looking for top talent. Well, they're already in your workplace. You just need to invest in them there. And what I find when I do develop these training and development programs is often it's the women that take it by the horns and they're like, this is awesome. And they really enjoy it and take it on. Whereas the men are like, I don't want to have to learn something new. Mm-hmm. And it just gives women that opportunity to have a roadmap on how to be promoted. It gives them a path to follow.
Yeah.
And my hope is that more women will continue to get hired in the cannabis industry and be able to really utilize their career mm-hmm. to build a family on it, mm-hmm. to build a career so that in 10, 15 years, their desire is to be the CEO of a cannabis company instead mm-hmm. of remain a trimmer or working in the field.
Right. Looking for those leadership positions that they may have the skills for, but they don't quite know how to bring that forward and let their employer know that they have these skills. So it's great that you're there mining, finding those, those strengths. According to MJ Biz Daily, for 2021, women in the cannabis industry have decreased in the leadership roles. It's down to 22%, lower than in 2019, where it was up over 30%. So what are your thoughts about that? Is it what we're talking about now, that they're just not being identified, or what do you think?
It's tough. I will say that when I do find the women who want to really take on the training program and the development program, they hit a ceiling in the boys club. Mm-hmm. It's what they realize is, and where you have system and order, things run smoother. Mm-hmm. And so they get it and they take it on. And then the guys are like, we don't want that. We don't, that's nerdy. That's like being a cop, we don't want to follow the rules. And it's hard because then that resistance just jams up the workflow. Mm-hmm. And when you're there speaking wisdom as a woman, mm-hmm. sometimes you're considered the buzzkill. And I think they get fed up.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting perspective that I hadn't thought about. A lot of people come to the cannabis industry, they've been lied to, they've struggled, maybe they've even been to prison. It's horrible, as a result of the drug war. And so putting systems into place and having, sort of a structured work environment and all of that, maybe something that they do push away. I really hadn't thought about that at all. Goodness. Mm-hmm. And it seems like women would be more prone to that organization and rules, like you said.
Yeah, because it creates order. Mm-hmm. I mean, the cannabis industry is constantly changing. It's fast-paced, it's stressful. And if you don't have, and conflict and chaos does bring innovation. So mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's, you can't make a cookie cutter perfect workplace in this industry that's constantly changing, but you can weed out a lot of drama mm-hmm. by having the right systems in place. And it's actually encouraged. And in some compliance situations, it's mandatory and people just skirt around it. And what they don't realize, and this is how I really drive home my pain point mm-hmm. to employers, is they're leaking money. Mm-hmm. Every time an employee is confused and it takes them, 10 or 15 minutes to go ask another employee what they're supposed to be doing, all of a sudden that's 30 minutes of two employees not working.
Right.
And mm-hmm. You'd leak a lot of money by not having, certain systems in place. And 25% of the training I do is on communication, because we don't learn how to communicate well. We go home and we communicate however we do with our families. And then we bring that to work, and you have all this chaos where it's like, if you put in place some guidelines on how to communicate, mm-hmm. then your employees all know that that's the system. Now, does it make it perfect? No, but they know that they're going to bring a solution along with the problem.
Right.
They're going to know how to find a solution, even if it's not a good one, to bring to the table.
Right. Yeah, it's so important for everyone to kind of know what the rules are. Everybody, I think, performs better in that situation. And how do we communicate today? That's so we're bombarded with communication. Like if somebody asks me, can I communicate with you on a platform I'm not on, I get a knot in my stomach because I'm like, I cannot add another thing. So I would imagine in the workplace that's so important to figure out how are we going to communicate, and let's all try to stick to that so that we know where to get that communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So in general, what do you think? How do we empower and encourage women? Today we're we're being hit with so many things, taking away women's rights, possibly taking away women's rights. How do we encourage, self-worth and that they're important? What are your thoughts about that at work?
Well, I just had a conversation yesterday with a woman who's probably in her late 60s. And she said, things have gotten better for women. And I don't want people to forget that. She said, when she was in the workplace 30 years ago, it was so different than it is now. And it really brought that perspective of, let's not forget that we have progressed and that we have choices now that women haven't had in the past. And I guess it's focusing on the progression and not the oppression.
Right. I love that. Focus on the progression, not the oppression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining me. This has been really informative. Where can people get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, officealchemist.com. And if they scroll all the way down to the bottom, they can sign up for a free workplace wellness evaluation. And
nice.
Yeah, it's where I will send all of their employees a confidential survey, and the employees will tell us how they feel about the workplace. And then I compile that information. It's completely anonymous. I compile the information into a chart that shows a company where their employees are happy, where they're not. And then I give them free suggestions on what they can do to change that.
Wow, so that's fantastic. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Becky.